Hey guys, welcome to another tutorial on Let's Make a Game Together. My name is Dave and we're going to be doing Unity ads in this video, a very quick and simple tutorial. So first of all, let me say thanks to my Patreon supporters and thanks especially to my Fedora supporters. You guys are absolute legends and thanks for your support. If you want to check out the Patreon, links in the description. So in this video, we're going to be learning a simple and easy way to install Unity ads in your game and so you can start earning revenue as soon as you put it on the mobile app market. And for that, we're going to be using this complete project called Balloon Beach. And I'll just show you what we're going to be doing. So when I press play, in the complete project here, we see that we have Balloon Beach and we have a menu pop up. And when we press play, we can move a ball left and right to dodge some spikes. It's a pretty simple game. When we crash into the spikes, we have this button here that when we press, shows a Unity ad. Hooray! And also when this is on mobile, obviously it'll actually show a correct ad and you'll be earning revenue from it. But just in here, we have it in for testing purposes. And when we press close, it waits for a second and then we can continue on. And if we run into another spike, we can't press the button again. And you'll notice that there's a different kind of a menu with a bit of a red tinge. And you see our high score is up here. Awesome. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete all the ad support functionality in this game and basically approach it as if we're approaching a brand new game. If you want to learn how to actually make this game from start to finish, there's a link in the description to my Udemy course if you want to check that out. But don't feel like you have to because the main gem of this video, which is installing Unity ads, will be covered completely and fully in this video. Okay, so let's say you've got your game or you've just started a brand new project. The first thing you want to do is go over to services and just go over to the ads section and just turn that on. So turn it on. Make sure that you've logged in with your account, obviously, and you can actually click on go to dashboard and it'll bring you to the website where you can see all the information. And you've also got this enable test mode here that we'll leave on for now because we're not actually releasing the game. So we've got, so how this project is set up is I've got a scene manager script and I've got my canvas, which is all my menus. And if we go over to the canvas, we'll see we've got 3 different menus. Inside the menus are a bunch of different buttons and things like that. So, and they're all turned off as you can see. So in-game UI, so if I turn that on, this is what the game will look like when we're actually playing the game. So you've got your score up here and you have your pause button. That's great. In the in-menu UI is the start menu or also, it's the start menu basically. And it's just got one button, which is this play button here and the logo and some animations attached to the left and right ball and things like that. Cool, so we'll turn that off. And we have our game over menu UI. So this is a bit of a different menu. It's got a bit of a red tinge to it to show that you've died. It's got the button here, which is the show ad heart button. We've got a crown, we've got a restart button, and we've got a high score. So what we want to do is we want to make it so when we've seen an ad that this button turns off, and when we haven't seen an ad, the button stays on. So I've actually removed the code that creates most of the functionality for these menus, but we're going to go to the player, and I'm going to go to the player and just turn off, and just mute audio source because it's going to drive me nuts. Okay, cool. So press play. And if we see the play button, we press play. Great. We can play the game, but as you see, we run through the spikes and nothing gets called. So what we need to do is we need to create the code that's going to call those spikes. And in your game, this will be the game over method. So whenever your player's health gets to 0, that will be when you call this function. Okay, so let's go to our scripts and create a new C# script. I'm going to call this Unity ads. And we're going to drag this onto any object in the scene. For me, it's going to be the scene manager. And we're just going to open that up. And we want to add 2 namespaces so that we can adjust the UI and also use advertisements. So underneath using Unity Engine, we just want to write using Unity Engine.UI. Fantastic. And using Unity, it's always good to spell correctly, .advertisements. Fantastic. The next thing we want to do is create a boolean, public bool has seen rewarded ad. And we'll equal that to false. This keyboard, I'll tell you what. Okay, beautiful. Awesome. So this will handle whether or not we have seen or not seen the video. So this will be what we use to determine, whether or not we want to show the actual button or not. So it's pretty important. And the only other things that we need right now is a reference to our player, because obviously we need to know if the player has died, or we need to stop the player, or we need to make it so he can't get hurt, etc., etc. So we're just going to say public game object player. We also need a reference to the menus, public game object. I'm just going to go back and I'm just going to check out my menus, just remember what they're called. In-game UI, in-menu UI, game over menu UI. Okay. In-game UI, game over UI, and public game object in menu UI. I'm going to make this in the middle just so it's exactly the same layout as this here. In-game, in-menu, game over. Cool. So if we go to our scene manager, we'll see we've got our Unity ads script here. So we can drag our player in, or drag your player in. We can drag the in-game UI in. We can drag the in-menu UI in, and we can drag the game over menu UI in. And we'll also see we've got has seen rewarded ad is unticked. If we press play, everything is working just as expected. Okay, so this is obviously going to be a little bit different from your game. And if you're confused already, then don't worry, because this next bit is the part that you really just need to pay attention to. Once you get this core concept, you should be able to implement it into your own game. This stuff here is just because of the way I've set up my game. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is we want to change the over to a over, not a B. That was weird. First thing you want to do is go to unity3.com/services as quick start guide. If you just type in Unity Ads Quick Start Guide, you should be able to get to a page like this. And we want to just scroll down and it'll have a bunch of information, but we're actually interested in this bit of code here. So you'll see that we have an example class here. We'll see it's using Unity, using advertisements. We've got to open curly braces here to open the class. We've got to close curly braces here to close the class. And we're just interested in this method here and this method here. So if we just copy this, public void show rewarded ad, and go back over to Unity, and we can remove void start and void update at the moment. Public void show rewarded ad. Awesome. So that is in there now, but it's going to fail because it needs a handle show results. And that is the other bit of code that we're just going to copy across. Make sure you leave out the last curly brace here. So you should be able to, that's for the class, obviously. And then we come under here, press enter. Fantastic. Now you'll see here, we've got it set up so it just says your code to reward the gamer, give coins, etc. It shows us exactly what we need to do, and that's basically it. So what is this actually saying and what's this actually doing? So we have three different cases here, right? So when a Unity ad is shown, it either finishes, it's either skipped, or it either fails to load. We don't need to worry about failed or skipped because it basically just breaks out of the loop and nothing gets rewarded. But if we put our code in here to reward the player, if they finish the ad, then it'll reward the player with and give them coins or do whatever we want to do. So whatever we want to do, we need to put it inside of here. This code here basically checks that if an advertisement is ready before it shows one. And so all we really need to do is put in our code here. But that will work to some degree, but not completely. So because our game gives our player an extra life, all we need to do is we need to restart the game. So start game. So basically, give the player an extra life, or give player extra life. And then we just need to turn on has seen rewarded ad equals true. Okay, so if we go back over to our game and we press play and we press play again, our player will move forward and it'll run straight through these triangles, which what we want to happen is we want these triangles to actually stop the player from moving forward, and we want to show that menu. So we need to create two things. We need to create a game over menu, and we need to create the collision for the player. So let's open up Unity Ads, and up top here, we're going to create a public void game over method. So in our game over method, we want to handle a few things. First of all, we want to get the player dot get component rigid body dot constraints equals rigid body constraints dot freeze all. Let's test that out. So right now, when the game over method hits, so this will be your game over method, we want to freeze the player, and we want to make it so the player obviously doesn't keep moving or rolling or whatever. So that's the first thing we're going to do. So we want to go over to our player, and on our player we have the player script. The player script is what we use in this game to, make sure that we're getting damaged or keeping up with health and things like that. And we'll see that we have a reference to our scene manager already. And our scene manager is the object that has a Unity Ads script on it. So if we go over to player and we just scroll down and I just open up the player script, we'll see that we have the line of code that I commented out here. And it just says if we run into the tag triangle, well, we want to call the game over method. So because we've created a new script, I want to say scene manager dot get component app Unity Ads dot game over method. Okay, so what's that doing? So it's grabbing our scene manager, which is just here with scene manager, which is this game object, and on that game object we have a script called Unity Ads. So if we go, we're saying scene manager.getComponent Unity Ads, which is that script, and then we're accessing a method on that script called gameOverMethod. So gameOverMethod, and we can access it because it is a public gameOverMethod. So to recap, our player, when it runs into a triangle, it's grabbing the scene manager, getting the Unity Ads script, and calling the gameOverMethod. And the game over method, when it's called, basically makes the player freeze position. That's it. So let's test that out. Let's press play. Awesome. So as soon as we run into a triangle, it freezes the position. That's exactly what we want. Cool, what else do we need to do? Well, we need to turn on the correct menu and turn off the other menus. So the correct menu that we want to show is the game over menu UI, this one. So we can come over to our script and we can, underneath the game over method, we can say in game UI dot game object dot set active false. Whoops. In menu UI dot game object dot set active false, and we want to turn on our game over the game object dot set active equals true. All right, let's give that a spin. Awesome. So when we do that, because we have set up our menus, all the correct menus, all these other menus turn off and our game over menu UI turns on. Okay, but what happens when we actually want to click these buttons? Well, nothing, these are just regular buttons. There's nothing special about these buttons. You can just create these buttons by clicking Unity UI and then just creating a button, and I just added a sprite image to them. So if we are pressing this button and this button, nothing is actually happening. So we need to code the functionality of these buttons. Go over to our game over menu UI. We're going to turn it on, And let's go over to our restart button first. Okay, so we want it, so when it clicks, when we on click, we want to just restart the game. So if we go over to our Unity ads script here, we can create a new method called, we'll create a new couple, public void start the game. Fantastic. Public void restart the game. So this will handle starting our game, and this will handle restarting our game. So to restart the game, we need to add another namespace using unity.scene management. And then we can say inside restart game, scene manager dot load scene 0. So whatever scene is in the 0 index of your build settings is what scene will be loaded. So I'm just going to go to File, File, Build Settings, and we'll see that our main scene is at the 0 index. So that will load that scene. So now that we've created that method, we can go to our Restart button, and we can go down to our onClick, and we can actually drag our scene manager game object, and we can add the function from Unity ads, restart the game. So if we press play now, so it's actually restarting the level every time, and obviously these things are random. Cool, so we know that works. So let's deal with the Unity add button now. So to show the rewarded ad, all we need to do is go to the Heart Show Rewarded Ad. We need to drag in our scene manager, the on-click event. We need to go to Unity ads, show rewarded ad, and if we press play, awesome, now the ad is working fine. When we press close, great. Okay, so now we just need to do the finishing touches to get this working correctly. So if we go over to our Unity ads script, we'll see we've got our start game method here. And we actually just want to copy the lines of code here in game over, and we can just dump them into start. And we can we can say game over method, game over UI equal to false. Fantastic. And the in menu UI is equal to true. So that'll show the true menu. Instead of freeze all, we want to just click none. And just where we've written the code here, start game will give the player an extra life. We just want to call start the game. Oh, sorry. We've actually got to make that false, and we want to make that true. Cool, so if we go back over to Unity and we press play, and we have the correct menu obviously turned on, if we press the play button, the game will start, and when we run into something, bam, we can press the add button, the ad shows, and then when we press close, it continues to go. But we're just going to make sure that it turns off now at the correct time. So let's go back into the script. And this is actually pretty easy. So inside the game over method, we just need to create an if statement. If, and this is where has rewarded ad comes in, has rewarded ad equals true. Then we can put in instructions to make the button not work anymore and look a bit transparent and things like that. And so to do that, let's create a reference to the add button. So public game object add button. And let's just go set that up. So scene manager, we want to drag our add button over to the add button section, our heart add button. Fantastic. And then we just want to say add button dot get component. And this is where we want to turn off anything that we have. So I want to turn off the button functionality, and we're going to say dot enabled equals false. Cool. Add button dot get component. And we also want to change the transparency of the sprite. So if we go over to turn on the menu and we go to our heart, you'll see that we have our red, green, blue color in the sprite, but this here is the transparency. So if we just make that half transparent, it'll look pretty cool. So let's just turn off our game over menu UI. Cool. Let's go over to this and say add button dot get component dot image dot color equals new color red value 1, green value green value 1, blue value 1, and alpha value 0.5f. So it's basically 100%, 100%, 100%, 100%, 50%. 100%, 100%, 100%, 50%. Cool, so let's go back to the game and see where our project is at. If we press the play button, you can see our menu pops up. We press play. Bam, we run into something. We can see the animation is going for the add button. We click it, the ads are working. We continue to play. Bam, run into something. And now the add button isn't working and we can restart the game. Fantastic. So that is a quick introduction to how to implement Unity ads into your own game. And if you uploaded your project with Unity ads implemented like you've seen here, you'll be able to start earning revenue as soon as your game is online. Just a reminder that if you want to see how this project is made and see how it's coded in the full version of this game, check out the course in the description below. Thanks heaps to my Patreon supporters. You guys absolutely rock. And I'll see all of you guys in the next video. Peace.